Está bien, estudiantes. Today we're going to go ahead and introduce Chapter 4A Vocabulary using a PowerPoint slide presentation, and I'll just kind of walk you through it so that you can hear me pronouncing the words, the new words that you're going to be introduced to. And so Chapter 4A has everything to do with one of those interrogative words that I was kidding around at the very beginning of the school year. If y'all recall the donde, de donde, a donde. So this time we're going to go ahead and talk about that a donde, which means to where. Like, to where do you go? Another very important verb in this particular chapter is the verb ir, which is totally irregular. And so you need to memorize what the different conjugated forms are. So, a donde vas, to where do you go? And so we're going to introduce lugares. Lugares are places. And so you could see there on the title page there. You have a church, you have the gym, you have the park, you have the countryside, the beach, the library, the mountains, and the mall. So without further ado, ir de compras. So in addition to learning vocabulary for lugares, places to go, you're going to also need to be able to talk about what it is that you would do at these locations. So the verb that or the word that we're going to use is going to be para, which means for the purpose of, is basically how you would be using it. Para. So, ¿a dónde vas? To where you go. Para ir de compras. To go shopping. Where would you go? Ir de compras. And notice that the verb ir is still in its infinitive form here. Ir de compras. To go shopping. Another activity, once we introduce the vocabulary of the lugar, place, it will be ver una película. So where would you go to watch a movie? Ver una película. Where do you go on Tuesdays? So you could basically say that you go to your piano lesson on Tuesdays. Ir a la lección de piano. Ir a la lección de piano. Another response could be when you're talking about where it is that you go, you're going to say, you can use me quedo en casa. I stay home. Me quedo en casa. I stay home when I'm not feeling well, for example. La biblioteca. Now we're hitting some of the lugares, places. La biblioteca is the library. La biblioteca. Which is very different to a bookstore. I know when you hear library, you think of the translation, then you're probably going to think in Spanish, la librería, for library, because they sound so close in pronunciation. But you need to bear in mind that la librería is actually a bookstore. La librería. For example, like Barnes and Noble. El café is a cafe, right? Not the beverage. So this is where would you go to drink coffee? Voy, I go al café. Al café. Para beber café. And so I'm using that word para, which means for the purpose of, to drink coffee. El campo is the countryside. So take a good look at the picture. This is what I'm going to use. This is what the clip art uses for the curriculum. is the one in the center there in black and white. And so basically you could see kind of like a pathway, a road maybe, or it could be a trail. And so that's going to be el campo, the countryside, not to be confused with las montañas, which will be coming up here soon. La casa is a lugar, is a place. La casa, the house. Where do you go after school? Voy a la casa. O voy a mi casa, my house. O voy a la casa de mi amigo. I go to the house of my friend. La casa. En casa. So basically, me quedo en casa. I would stay at home. En casa. Where are you? En casa. I'm at home. ¿Dónde estás? En casa. So another lugar, location or place, is going to be el centro comercial. El centro comercial. And so this one would be a good one to use when you are being asked the question, ¿A dónde vas para ir de compras? ¿A dónde vas para ir de compras? Where do you go to go shopping? So you could say, voy al centro comercial. Centro comercial. So notice that the word comercial only has one M in español. Centro comercial. El cine. El cine is the movie theater. The movie theater. And so this is the word that you would use when you're asked the question, ¿A dónde vas para ver una película? Where do you go to watch a movie? And so you could say, voy al cine. Voy al cine. I go to the movie. El gimnasio. El gimnasio. Okay, not gymnasio, right? Gimnasio. And so you would go there to hacer ejercicio, to do exercise, vocabulary word that we learned in the previous chapter. Or levantar pesas, to lift weights, levantar pesas, en el gimnasio. La iglesia, la iglesia. So this is the church. So this would be like a Christian church. La iglesia, the church. Or it could be Presbyterian church, Christian church. Methodist. La iglesia. In other parts of the world, the religion that they follow or the place of worship that they would go to, for example, the mosque, is la mezquita. La mezquita. Las montañas, so you'll notice here, look at the clip art in the black and white. And so they're just going to show you like mountain peaks. So that's how you can tell the difference between el campo, the countryside, and las montañas, the mountains, perdón. El parque. El parque is the park. El parque. So remember, we've talked about this before. You have to know what the gender of those nouns are. And in most cases, we would be able to tell what the gender is for a particular word, because if it ends in an O, then it's normally masculine. If it ends in an A, it's normally feminine. But in this case, like the word parque, you wouldn't know unless you've memorized that the word parque is masculine. So the article, the definite article you would place in front of it would be el. La piscina. La piscina. So that's a place that we could go para nadar. Remember, we learned that verb to swim. So if you're asked a question, ¿A dónde vas para nadar? Where do you go to swim? you could say voy a la piscina. I go to the pool. Voy a la piscina. Or you could also go to la playa. La playa is the beach. And so you could also go there para nadar. Or you could also say pasar tiempo con amigos, or caminar, to walk on the beach, correr on the beach. So there's different options that you can use as to why you would go to La Playa. El restaurante. El restaurante. The restaurant. Another place of worship is la sinagoga, the synagogue. La sinagoga. El templo, another place of worship. El templo, the temple. And this is, I believe, Buddhism. So this is going to be very interesting because you've learned an adjective, you've learned the verb to work, and now we're going to tell you that you need to know the place, the name of a place of where you go to work, your workplace. And so that's going to be el trabajo. El trabajo is the workplace. Trabajar is the verb to work. Trabajador or trabajadora, if you'll recall, is the adjective, to be hardworking. So you do need to know the differences between the three. One is a noun, a place, el trabajo. The other is an adjective, trabajador, trabajadora. And the other one is a verb, which you need to conjugate based on who's doing the working. Trabajar, trabajar. So there's that interrogative word that we're going to be dealing with in this chapter quite a bit. Adonde? To where? Adonde? To where? ¿Con quién? With whom? With whom do you go to the centro comercial? With whom? ¿Con quién? With whom do you go al cine? So we're going to be major busybodies in this one because I want to know when you go, with whom do you go, where do you go, why do you go there? All right, so there's going to be a lot of questionings here. So in this chapter, you are going to be introduced to all the different interrogative words. You've been dealing with most of them, and we're just going to give you a few more. So hopefully you can do a recall on that. All right, and so you can respond that you're going to go with your friends. Con mis amigos, with my friends. And so that word mis is the possessive adjective my. And con, you already knew that means with when we talked about, do you want a hamburguesa con queso? Do you want a hamburger with cheese? So we're introducing more vocabulary and we're combining it with other words. In this case, mis is the possessive adjective my. Tus is the possessive adjective your. I'm going to go with your friends, tus amigos. Voy al cine con tus amigos. I'm going to the movies with your friends. Para ver una película, for the purpose of watching a movie. All right, and so I might ask you the question, with whom are you going? ¿Con quién? So you could have responded with mis amigos, with my friends, con tus amigos, with your friends, or you could indicate that you're going alone. Okay, solo if you are a chico, alone. Sola if you are a chica, going alone. Another interrogative word, ¿cuándo? When are you going? ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo vas al cine? When are you going to the movies? When? ¿Cuándo? And so then you can respond using this word, meaning afterwards, like after school, después de la escuela, or después del gimnasio, after I go to the gym. So you're going to use this word después for afterwards. Antes would be before. Antes would be before. Después is the one that's being introduced in this chapter for you to use, and it means afterwards. Después. Después de. After. After I go to the después del gimnasio. After going to the gym. Después del cine. Después del or de la iglesia. After church. So you need to go ahead and include that de, del, or de la. De la. All right, and so as I mentioned before, I'm going to be asking you, well, when do you go? And so if it's something, an activity that you do on the weekends, you're going to use the phrase los fines de semana. Los fines de semana, which means on the weekends. Los lunes, los martes, los miércoles, los jueves, los viernes. All right, so you can go at los sábados if it's something that you just do on Saturdays, every Saturday, it's repetitive. Los domingos, like yo voy a la iglesia los domingos, right? Something that's repetitive. And so notice that you're using the plural. The days of the week are already plural, except for sábado and domingo. So in those two cases, sábado and domingo, you would need to make sure that you follow the plural rule. So if you're indicating that you do this every Saturday or every Sunday, then you need to make sure that you're adding the plural endings. Tiempo libre, free time. So I might want to ask you, well, what do you do in your free time? ¿Qué haces en tu tiempo libre? ¿Qué haces? Remember, that's that verb hacer, to make or do. Conjugates like any other ER verb except during the yo form. Remember that verb hacer is a go verb, so I'm dropping the C and I'm just adding the GO ending. So hago. Yo hago. ¿Qué haces en tu tiempo libre? You don't even have to use the hago. Yo, unless you're saying your hago ejercicio, I do exercise. Yo voy al centro comercial. Yo voy al café. Yo voy al restaurante. Yo voy a la biblioteca. Yo voy a la librería. ¿Qué haces en tu tiempo libre? What do you do in your free time? ¿De dónde eres? So we've covered this one before. Where are you from? ¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? ¿De dónde, from where, is one of those interrogative words we've talked about. If you'll recall, the dónde, like where is something located. ¿De dónde, from where, and a dónde, to where. And you responded by saying de, I am from or of. De, I am from or of. You're going to go ahead and use generalmente, is generally. So you could say, generally, on Tuesday, I go to the mall. Or generalmente voy a la iglesia, I go to church, generally. Generalmente. And here you're kind of expressing, you don't say, no me digas. No me digas, you don't say. You're going to the mall with Clara, okay, somebody that you enjoy spending time with. No me digas. Or you're going on vacation someplace really fun, and so this person is going to react by saying, no me digas. They're just excited. No me digas. And as I mentioned before, you do need to express or know how to express why it is that you go to these lugares, places. And so the structure is going to be, you're going to use the word para, which means in order to, para, for the purpose of, or in order to, plus the infinitive. Para hacer ejercicio, para levantar pesas, para nadar. So notice that you're using the word para, this is the structure, and then the infinitive will follow. And then here is that verb ir to go, which we're going to be dealing with quite a bit in this chapter. And it means to go. And so as you can see, this one does not have a stem. Because what would happen if I went ahead and deleted the ending? There is only IR. And so you need to know that for this verb ir, to go, what we're going to use is V. V is going to be the stem, as you would. It's going to be the stem for the verb ir, to go. And the endings that you're going to attach to it is going to be OY in the yo form. So if you'll notice that verb ir, except for in the yo form, you'll notice that it is conjugating like an AR verb. The o, as, a, amos, an. Except for in the yo form. In the yo form, you got to make sure that you add that y, because we don't say yo vo, grammatically incorrect. Yo voy, I go. So you're adding that y. But other than that, if you can just remember that ir has no stem, and so you're going to go ahead and add the stem V, the letter V, ve, and to that stem, you're going to basically treat it like an AR verb when you're conjugating it for the different subject pronouns. And so, except for in the yo form, you got to add that Y. So, voy, vas, va, vamos, van. Ir, to go. And that concludes the presentation for the capítulo 4A.